सूरज की पहली किरण के साथ दिन की शुरुआत कीजिए। सुबह का मंगल प्रभात आपको शुभ हो। सुबह सुबह हो खुशियों का मेला, ना लोगों की परवाह ना दुनिया का झमेला। पंछियों का संगीत हो और मौसम अलबेला। मुबारक हो आपको ये खूबसूरत सवेरा। हर सोमवार से लेकर शुक्रवार तक सुबह 6 से लेकर 9 बजे तक शामिल रहें रेडियो FBCTV पर हम सफर में रविंद्र सिंह के साथ।
Oh, kayak boro-boro sebentar kami ngani temamu. Gua nggak usah nih lah nangani temamu. Nimbula, ayo Mr. Ben.
Ella ba?
Na magkikiro manono kinedyo na mata ka moni si kinafang-rumbuka.
And a Bula FM, number 2 and a shilling.
In the news tonight, less than 30% of employers are upskilling their workers. Methodist Church to begin a reconciliation process from next week. And tons of Kava imported from Vanuatu every year. Good evening, I'm Jackie Spate and you're watching FBC News. Police in Nandi are investigating an incident where some landowners disrupted operations at the Cloud9 floating island in Tavaroa today. Police spokesperson Ananai Soro confirmed that a group of landowners from Nambila and Momi cut the ropes to the pontoon. The landowners claim the floating island, which has become a tourist attraction, especially for members of the surfing community, is polluting their fishing ground. We'll have more on this story later in the bulletin. Very few employers are upskilling their workers to become more productive. That's the finding of economist Dr. Mahendra Reddy, who spoke at the Fiji Economy Update in Suva. Chanel Sivan reports.
Under the employment laws in Fiji, all companies must contribute 1% of their gross wages to the National Training and Productivity Centre. This is then used to run in-service programs to upskill workers.
So 79% of the employers who are contributing levy, who was contributing 1% of the total wages and salaries bill to the NTPC and then the then TPF and FNTC, are not picking up that fund, not utilizing it, not developing the employability of these employees that they have.
Dr. Reddy also pointed that for too long, universities have been churning graduates as workers and not so much as entrepreneurs.
You will see universities marketing their products, saying that these are the job market. If you graduate out of FNU or University of South Pacific or etc., here's the job market, here's the employers will grab you. But where do you see advertisements out of universities will say, you will be job givers?
The academic says apart from producing skilled workers, all universities are obligated to encourage a knowledge-based society of independent thinkers.
The onus is on the tertiary institutions of how we create, how you produce finished products, curious minds, creative mind, a thinking body of people, rather than just graduates who would see, go to a workplace and would want to use existing templates.
According to Dr. Reddy's, there is room for young graduates to become business people, and this should be actively encouraged so that down the line, these graduates can create employment. Chanel Shivan, FBC News.
Reconciliation efforts are being undertaken by the Methodist Church, which begins its annual conference next week. Former President Reverend Choseteki Koroi, who was ousted in 1987, will take part in the induction of the new church leadership. Epeli Tukuwasa reports.
The first step towards reconciliation will see the induction service of Church President Reverend Tuikiliki Lawangairatu.
Reverend Koroi did not do the part that he was supposed to have done when he finished as president. So this time around, we are bringing him and the current immediate past president, Reverend Tungawe, to work together to bestow the authority and the power on the new Ngasilevu, or the president.
Reverend Tevi Tanawanda says they are preparing for a new future, and that can only happen when rifts within the church are resolved.
We have been talking about reconciliation for years now, and our hope is that by this conference, because of the new induction service that will be done this year. We hope that this new leadership will bring the church together.
Nawandra says the process will continue next year involving the church ministers and members.
Especially next year, as we will celebrate our 50th anniversary, we have plans to do a show, symbolic show of this unity by the washing of feet, for the Talatalangases, or starting from the retirees to the Talatalangases and to all the Talatalas and the Vagatawas and down to the grassroots people.
More than 1,000 members are expected to attend next week's event. Epeli Tuguasa, FBC News.
We are fast approaching a critical point in dealing with climate change, which is already being felt on small island states. The Pacific region is most vulnerable to climate change, and it's become so bad that plans are being made on how to adapt to the inevitable changes. Ritika Pratap reports.
Villages in Fiji are being relocated, neighboring countries are preparing to move thousands of people, and others are watching their homes slowly disappear. This is the reality of climate change. By the end of this century, the planet will get warmer by 1.5 degrees centigrade, much higher than the current rate of 0.6 degrees.
Because if we're locked into that 1.5 to 2 degrees centigrade rise, we're talking about major changes to the planet. We're talking about major impacts on not only ecosystems but human society. And we're going to see that, I think, more than anywhere right here in the Pacific.
These scientists from 12 Pacific Island countries are meeting in Suva to look at climate change engineering. The main research will include reducing gas emissions, looking at the technical and ethical aspects of climate engineering.
I know, and I believe, we all know, though, is that climate change constitutes one of the greatest barriers to sustainable development, particularly for small island states. In fact, for us, we know more. It is a security threat.
Professor John Bethel is a coral reef biologist and says rising temperatures are threatening reefs across the Pacific.
No doubt in my mind that decline has been due to many factors, almost all of them human generated, and most of that is to do with climate change. And in fact, I would go as far as to say that coral reefs are the only ecosystem that is directly impacted by the effects of climate change.
Research around the world is now on adapting to climate change. Efforts to stop or reduce its impacts haven't shown much progress. The 3-day workshop in Suva will end on Friday. Ritika Pratap, FBC News.
Still to come, Shore Buses launch a new line of buses.
Sophie.
And I'm Tix.
You can join us on The Breakfast Show
every weekday from Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. till 9 a.m. right here on Today FM.
That's right.
Bula, oya wasala vilawa. Do pataki yao mena diwa kina tini karona kaloko na single boni moniti kina varumbuka. Kako ni valatana no musini sari na kaisa moriendo loloma leone wani ni nau omgori ke de mena diwa kina tini karona kaloko na single boni moniti kina varumbuka and Bula FM number 2 en sere.
Welcome back. You're watching FBC News. Every year, distributors import about $20 million worth of yongona from Vanuatu for sale and consumption in Fiji. The Agriculture Ministry says local farmers are just not planting enough to meet the demand. Apisalome Dokar reports.
Local businesses are now importing yongona from Vanuatu to meet the demand here.
It's just a shortage. The farmers in Fiji are not producing enough for the local consumption, and also the price difference. This is an area of concern. Local produced kava is so expensive, but Vanuatu kava is cheap.
Waimbuto says the ministry initially hoped that yongona would be a commodity that would sustain itself, but it has turned out quite the opposite.
Yongona and dalo is one of the commodities that it had sustained itself. So we have deviated some of the resources out from these two commodities, and we are moving towards other commodities that we need to lift since we have been assisting this particular commodity for quite some time. But when we did that, we saw the total drop in production.
As the ministry sets its sights on exporting Yanguana for pharmaceutical purposes, farmers will need to look at the domestic market needs as well.
The demand in consumption, even locally, is increasing every day. I keep saying that let's not move into the pharmaceutical market without meeting the local demand first.
Waimbuta is urging Yanguana farmers in the country to plant more, and if they face difficulties, they should visit the agricultural offices and seek advice. Apisalome Doka, FBC News.
Shaw Buses Limited today introduced 10 brand new buses to its fleet. As Mika Longa reports, they have also launched a new bus company, Metro Bus Limited, to supplement its service on designated routes.
Metro Bus Limited is a gift from Jasper Singh to his sons.
We had a old company that we had some years. Some of you know the history behind that. So what we did, we rebranded to call now Metro. So Metro is really Aman and Neeraj's company.
Hopefully we try to follow his footsteps, but we can never be better than our father. But what we can do is that we can try and compete with him. We are both third generation bus operators. When my dad has stepped away.
Worth over $1 million, these custom-made buses are all from China.
We were happy with the government's policy of a duty reduction. And my plea to government today, I know as we speak, they are there at the PM's office to discuss the budget. And I had texted my friend, make sure that you keep on insisting that the duty of 5 plus 5% is reduced to 0 plus VAT.
Chief guest LTA CEO Naisa Tunedeva said refleeting like this is the solution to the concerns raised against the bus industry. Bus operators have already agreed to adhere to strict standards referred to as the Quality Assurance Maintenance System.
Both the bus operators and the Land Transport Authority solution to bus fires. It is our solution to the many defects or breakdowns that we see on our roads. It is our solution to maintain fitness and safety on buses. And it is our solution to support the refitting program so these buses can live and service our road 10, 20 years or even 30 years age.
Metro Bus expects another 10 buses from China soon. Mikolonga, FBC News.
In an attempt to stop child neglect, a new social welfare policy now allows the state to care for children whose parents are finding it financially difficult to look after them. According to the ministry, this should allow parents to get back on their feet and see the return of their children to their rightful homes. Shireen Lata reports.
Placing children in residential homes should be the last option for any parent. However, some parents in Fiji are desperately struggling to look after their children. The Social Welfare Minister Dr. Chico Luveni says that in cases where parents are facing financial difficulties, the children can be placed temporarily in the residential homes to ensure that proper care is provided.
There was a couple in Nandi that had a baby girl. But when they had this baby, they did not have a house that is acceptable to bring up a baby in a healthy way. The baby was placed at a treasure home in Nandi until such time that the parents confirm they are in a financial position to bring the baby up on their own.
Dr. Luveni says the ministry is prioritizing quality care for children under state care and looked after in residential homes in Fiji. These are children between the ages of 1 to 18 years who have been abandoned and neglected by their families.
They even given the opportunities for vocational training, and because the ultimate goal is for these children to grow up as good citizens.
Recently, 14 children were placed out of the homes for reasons like adoption, kinship placement, and foster care. Currently, there are 128 children under state care being looked after at 9 residential homes. Shireen Lata, FBC News.
A 2-month-old floating restaurant at Cloudbreak in Tavaroa is facing threats from nearby villages. The Cloud9 floating island was cut off from its mooring, which held the structure in place. Akosita Tale has more.
At around 9 o'clock this morning, 2 speedboats allegedly carrying villagers from Momi village cut off the mooring lines that tied the platform to the seabed.
You know, a lot of people are talking about Cloud9. I think it's inspired a lot of people. It's something unique, and it's Fijian. It's the only one of its kind in the world. And yet here we have jealous people who don't look at the big picture.
Police officers from the Police Tourist Unit, Criminal Investigations Department and the Uniform Branch are in Nandi investigating the incident. Police spokesperson Ananai Soro confirmed that a group of landowners from Nambila and Momi cut the ropes to the pontoon. This is not the first for the business owned by a former world surfer. They have received many threats since the business started in June.
We have an element of people in this country that just have no respect, no disregard for the law. And until now, the authorities that are not doing the due diligence and enforcing the law. And as a consequence, you have what happened today.
Namotu resort owner Scotty O'Connor was quick in action and helped tie the lines to prevent the floating island from drifting away.
My friend Tony called me up and said someone had chopped the lines on his boat, on his floating platform, and as we do for anyone, we come out to help. We do that for we rescued fishing boats, divers, you know, it's just we all help each other out here.
The landowners claim the floating island, which has become a tourist attraction, especially for members of the surfing community, is polluting their fishing ground. The pontoon, which is usually moored in the Navula Reef, floated into open waters. Akosita Tale, FBC News.
Sports time now, and Jamie, what do you have for us tonight?
Good evening. Well, it was an exciting day at the Milo Kachi tournament at Lautalo Bay with a few unexpected teams making an impact. Details on that after the break. And the Suva Masters get help from U.S. Assistant National Coach. Stay with us.
Mula, I'm Wame. Join me every weekday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on The Center Show with classic hits from the 70s as well as the 80s right here on Gold FM.
आपकी शादी होने वाली है 5 बच्चे होंगे 5 हाय मैं हूँ आपकी सहेली वेणु सुनते रहेंगे मिर्ची एफएम मैं हूँ ना 9 से 12 बजे तक
Welcome back to FBC Sports. Suva, Nandi, Lautoka and Tailevu were always the teams expected to make the playoffs of the Milo Kachi rugby tournament. However, teams from Koro, Tavoa Watukola and Kandavu are showing promise in the higher grades in very wet conditions at the ANZ Stadium in Lautalo Bay. But what really got crowds cheering on day 2 were the smallest of the lot in the under-9 grade. Elena McDonald reports.
Things got a lot more exciting once this bunch took to the field on day 2. After all, waiting a whole day to compete meant a whole lot of excitement building up. Despite the wet conditions, there was reason to smile, celebrate and do districts proud.
Even though it's drizzling a bit, but it held back throughout the day, and we are very grateful to the Almighty for giving us this weather. The kids are happy. They are enjoying it. And you know, they enjoy to have a rain bath.
Koro has become a force to reckon with, along with Taviuni and the Kondrove. But for those unlucky to get a win, there were other reasons to smile.
From outside, since we are in the islands, we never get to know each other. But because of what Milo Kachi did of this tournament, it brought us together, the teachers, the parents, and all these kids.
Who makes the playoffs is yet to be known. But either way, some awesome action is expected on the final day of competition. Elena McDonald, FBC Sports.
With momentum building for the Masters Classic football tournament, the Suva Masters team seems to have found an edge with help from abroad. Carlos Juarez, an assistant coach with the USA national team, spent some time with Subu yesterday, giving players insight into the game. Shelvin Chan has more.
For Carlos Juarez, football is religion. He arrived a few days ago and has agreed to help the Subu Masters. Juarez is happy with what he has seen.
I think it's very good. Sometimes, just the tactical decisions or the decisions are a little bit slow, maybe because of the conditions or maybe they don't know each other as well, but I think the level is very good.
Here on a friendly visit, Juarez says he's willing to help in any way if approached by football's parent body.
I'm a football coach, I'm a soccer coach, and I like to teach. I like to help develop players, and if there's any way I can help in teaching and developing players, that's what I like to do.
As for the Subu Masters, not looking the way they did in their heydays, the team still boasts some big names.
Team's preparing well. We have big names such as Rawa Mandengi, Tony Watsoni, Mano Masi, William Lasanga, Tony Rocco, and so forth. We've got a good mix of boys. We've got two teams. We're filling in two teams, over 35 and over 40. Since our tournament is catering for two categories, 16 in each category, over 35 and over 40.
The Masters Classics takes place at the ANZ Stadium from October 24th. Shelvin Chan, FBC Sports.
Driketi has raised concerns before the start of the Fiji Sun GP Batteries Premier Division League playoffs. The North football champions are to take on Nasinu tomorrow at the Rishikul College grounds, and the team believe the venue is not suitable for top-of-the-table clash. Shelvin Chan has more.
The weather hasn't been favorable in the Central Division and ground conditions will also be affected. Driketi coach Johan Liwai says this will also compromise the quality of the game.
The ground conditions where we're supposed to play tomorrow, because we've been having our games at Super Park. So looking at, Rishikul has been given the venue to play. So I don't think it's really up to standard, but that's what Fiji football wants. They want to complete the games before the new season starts in September, the National League. So we'll see what happens tomorrow and then you can get back to us on that.
Whatever their concern is, the Northerners have come prepared as they build a platform for promotion after next season.
We're ready. We've been preparing since we've been here from Monday. The boys have been having 2 sessions a day, so they're ready to go.
The team has been hit by injuries and with 2 players ruled out because of yellow cards, the task has become tougher.
We've got a lot of injuries. Shelvin, we've got our midfielder Masi, I think he's out for these 2 games. Our striker Waisake is carrying a toe injury, so we're hoping he'll recover by tomorrow.
According to Fiji FA, the Rishikul College ground is suitable and has been refurbished. The match kicks off at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Shelvin Chan, FBC Sports.
It's going to be a late finish for the Fiji Primary Schools Netball Inter-District Championship at Churchill Park in Lautoka. The quarterfinals is currently underway for all grades as this year's tournament comes to an end tonight. Suva Blues and Lautoka Maroons dominate all grades. The under 11s and 12s have a mix of offshore teams, while Namuka Ilau, Yasawa and Ra make the senior grades interesting. Following the IDC, a 30-member national under-13 squad will be chosen for the New Zealand Championship next year. That wraps up sports for tonight. It's back to Jackie now for business.
The Suva City Council is implementing the Prime Minister's directive to introduce a code of conduct for internet shops. Special Administrator Chandu Maria says there'll be a meeting of stakeholders, including the police and shop owners. He also wants suggestions from the public as to what provisions the code of conduct should contain. Umaria says a minority of internet shop owners are behaving irresponsibly and bringing the business into disrepute. The code of conduct will include parents leaving their children in internet shops while they go to nightclubs or the cinemas, allegations of drug peddling and minors being allowed access to pornography. Weather time now, and Jen, I take it you won't be wearing that jacket down to the grounds?
Considering it rained like cats and dogs today, Jackie, I highly doubt it. If you look at the map, you'll see a lot of clouds. All the yellow icons here means the sun came out for just a few hours in the west this morning before disappearing again after lunch. Now, it was fairly warm throughout VT today. 31 in Ba was the warmest, closely followed behind by Nandi at 30 degrees, while Suva is at a cool 27, right on the top here. And it seems there won't be any sun on the map tomorrow. Cloudy weather and heaps of rain is forecast for Thursday. Seafarers, take note, east to northeast winds will be at 15 to 20 knots. Moving on to pick of the day now, a big bullasia from Spencer Nigel Robinson shot this sunset at Wonderport. Wow. After all this rain, this photo is definitely a refreshing change. Keep sending in those pictures and we'd love to see some variety as well.
Thanks so much for that, Genevieve. The top stories tonight: a floating restaurant at the popular surfing spot Cloudbreak was cut off from its mooring today. Less than 30% of employers upskilling workers to improve productivity, and Methodist Church to begin reconciliation process at its annual conference next week. Time for this week's poll question, and we're asking, are there new faces shaping Fiji's political scene? To answer, visit our FBC website. Remember to send us newsworthy pictures and videos. Email citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj. That's all from the newsroom tonight. Join us again tomorrow. Good night.
Nimula methango nimilote na isoro tambua nama kia umena rua kina ona na veka vi moniti kina wakarambuka rongo mena via sana kina viva ko marota kinin reko malolo ena Radio Fiji 1 na wongani pioniano ngai nama kia kina
जहाँ हो प्यार का बसेरा और रिश्तों की खुशबू वो है आपका अपना घर संसार. Join me on घर संसार Monday to Friday 9 AM till 12 PM only on Radio Fiji 2.